Nephilim giants mystery just got solved, and it's much more disturbing than we imagined. It is true that legends have long whispered of giants. But what if those whispers weren't just stories? What if the mystery of the Nephilim, the giants of ancient texts, had a scientific explanation hidden in our DNA all along? The discovery is far more disturbing than we ever imagined. For millennia, humanity has stumbled upon tales of towering beings,
But the science. On this channel, we decode real DNA, uncover lost ancestries, and bring ancient genomes to life through cinematic storytelling. If that excites you, subscribe for weekly insights. Like the video to support science-based history, and drop a comment. Your questions help guide what we explore next.
their footprints etched into the bedrock of myth and history. From the deserts of Mesopotamia to the remote islands of the Pacific, accounts speak of giants, creatures of immense size, strength, and intelligence. Until recently, these were considered folklore, dismissed by mainstream science as exaggeration. But a team of researchers in Switzerland decided to challenge that assumption. Using a combination of modern genetics, satellite mapping, and excavations across several continents, they uncovered anomalies that defy conventional understanding. It started with DNA. Samples recovered from isolated burial sites in the high Andes revealed something extraordinary. Sequences in the genome didn't match any known human variation. Markers suggested increased bone density, rapid muscular growth, and a gene cluster associated with extreme height, genes thought impossible for early humans. These anomalies were subtle, almost hidden, but consistent across multiple sites. At first, the team suspected contamination, but when laboratories in Berlin, Tokyo, and New York analyzed the samples independently, the results were the same. The DNA told the story of beings that were human in essence, yet far beyond normal human biology. Ancient texts had described them: the Nephilim, the sons of gods, the towering ones. Now science had found traces of their existence written directly into the human genome. This revelation sparked a global investigation. Excavations were conducted in Chile, Peru, and remote parts of Siberia. Oversized skeletons emerged from the ground, their bones far larger than those of ordinary humans. Even more astonishing, the bone structure was remarkably similar across continents, suggesting a common genetic heritage. Meanwhile, in the Solomon Islands, a separate team mapped cave systems carved into volcanic rock. The tunnels were massive, 12 feet high, 15 feet wide, far beyond what ordinary humans could construct. Within them, they discovered stone tools, weapons, and even skeletal remains with elongated skulls and oversized hands. The team speculated these tunnels had been used by beings of immense size, capable of intricate engineering. But what disturbed the researchers most was not just the size of these beings, it was the implications of their DNA. Analysis revealed signs of hybridization. The genes suggested not only survival over millennia, but also deliberate breeding strategies, possibly with humans. The patterns were consistent with what one might call a Nephilim bloodline. Meanwhile, satellite imaging revealed something even more extraordinary. Across the deserts of Saudi Arabia and the high plateaus of Central Asia, circular structures, some hundreds of feet in diameter, appeared buried beneath the sand. These formations were aligned with astronomical markers. Researchers hypothesized they were ceremonial sites for beings of great stature. The implications were staggering. If these giants had existed and their genes persisted, it meant that traces of the Nephilim still walked among us. Not as towering monsters, but encoded invisibly in human DNA, waiting to emerge under certain conditions. To understand how they survived, scientists turned to the fossil record. In Siberia, permafrost-preserved remains showed evidence of gigantism far beyond anything seen in modern humans. Even more shocking, isotopic analysis of bone chemistry indicated a diet rich in protein from large animals, much more than typical hunter-gatherer diets. These giants were not merely larger humans, they were genetically engineered for survival. The team's next step was to investigate modern genetics. A secluded lab in Switzerland began testing DNA databases, searching for anomalies that matched the ancient sequences. They found thousands of individuals carrying fragments of the Nephilim genome, tiny, scattered markers that could influence height, strength, and even metabolic function. No one had ever noticed them before. But the genetic clues also suggested something darker. Some sequences were linked to rapid growth cycles and unpredictable behavioral traits. In theory, if activated, they could create humans capable of feats far beyond the average adult. Strength, speed, and even skeletal resilience unlike any known human capacity. The discovery was unprecedented. It explained ancient legends, biblical accounts, and myths from countless cultures. Stories of giants were not exaggerations. They were eyewitness accounts of beings whose biology defied normal human limitations. And there were modern sightings. Across remote regions of the Amazon and the Pacific, indigenous populations reported encounters with unusually large humans, sometimes 10 to 12 feet tall, often in areas inaccessible to outsiders. The team speculated that remnants of Nephilim genetics, combined with isolated environmental pressures, could produce these anomalies even today. But the most compelling evidence came from an unexpected source: dental records. Teeth recovered from high-altitude burial sites showed enamel density far beyond normal human variation. The jaw strength implied chewing power capable of processing large, tough proteins, again, consistent with ancient descriptions of giants. And even more unsettling was the discovery of skeletal anomalies that could not be explained by simple gigantism. Elongated limbs, reinforced rib cages, and oversized vertebrae suggested a physiology adapted for extreme strength and endurance. The creatures, if they existed, were not merely tall, they were engineered to dominate their environment. The question became, how had these giants disappeared? Genetic analysis suggested two possibilities. First, natural extinction due to environmental changes. Second, integration into human populations through hybridization. Their DNA diluted, but never completely lost. In other words, Nephilim traits could still be among us, hidden within ordinary humans, dormant yet persistent. The team also explored archaeological evidence in North America. Massive stone mounds in the Midwest, long dismissed as ceremonial burial sites, revealed something extraordinary: human remains far larger than any known prehistoric population. The depth and placement of these graves suggested careful planning, consistent with beings of extraordinary stature. And then there were the cave systems. Beneath the Andes and the Pacific Islands, tunnels connected ancient settlements over vast distances. Engineering analysis indicated knowledge of load-bearing structures far beyond what primitive tools could achieve. The researchers concluded these tunnels were designed for beings larger than normal humans, capable of complex construction. But it wasn't just bones and tunnels. Ancient artifacts, oversized weapons, ceremonial tools, and even jewelry were found in multiple continents, all pointing to a common design language. The giants were not only physically powerful, they were culturally sophisticated. The researchers then turned to modern genetics again. Using high-throughput DNA sequencing, they compared ancient giant DNA with modern populations. They found surprising matches. Fragments of the Nephilim genome persisted, carried silently in humans across South America, Europe, and Central Asia. These findings implied that humans may knowingly carry the legacy of giants in their genes, not as myth, not as legend, but as a biological fact hidden in the blueprint of life. The team's most controversial experiment involved embryonic cells. They discovered that combining certain Nephilim markers with normal human DNA in vitro caused rapid growth signals in early cell development. While ethically constrained, the implications were staggering. If ancient breeding programs had existed, they might have been scientifically sophisticated, not merely mythical. Meanwhile, forensic analysis of ancient skulls revealed neurological adaptations, enlarged cranial capacity, robust cranial structure, and evidence of high cognitive